Speaking of Tottenham, what a great win for Tottenham against Manchester City. You would have thought weekend away at Leicester City, who are really kind of struggling this season. You would have thought, well, should be a good game. Well, guess what? Leicester City 4-1 against Tottenham. Unbelievable.
It was a good
Shaka.
game.
That's 8 goals for Brendan Rodgers' side in 2 matches. And Tottenham, you beat Man City and you get killed by Leicester City one other weekend. Give me your reactions to that one.
Let me tell you something. I did not see this coming. Given the result against City, as you mentioned, I spoke about good teams taking the lead and holding on to that lead. Spurs did exactly that against Leicester, albeit away to Leicester. And I thought deservedly so. I thought, all right, there was a lot of good fortune, if you're Spurs or Bentancur to the point, about Spurs' opener. But I thought Spurs started well for an away team. And then they concede. And then Spurs just capitulate. Once Spurs concede, and this kind of has been the complaint around Spurs for so much of their season. At times, they've waited for the opponent to score before they start playing their football. And certainly in this case, they score, the opponent responds, and they just down tools in a way that was concerning if you're Antonio Conte. Antonio Conte back on the sidelines, by the way, witnessing that. That was as inept a performance we'd seen from a potential top 4 finisher for some time. It was embarrassingly bad for Spurs once Leicester got their opening goal.
Yeah, the inconsistency for Tottenham is alarming, of course. And by the way, they have AC Milan as well coming up in the Champions League. James, Olley, Rodrigo Bentancur, the Uruguayan, scored the opener. He's been a very important player for Tottenham. So I've got a 2-way question for you here. Number one, the top 4 chances, fading away, and how big would it be if Rodrigo Bentancur, who I believe got injured in this match, how big is that kind of absence for them?
Yeah, it will be a huge blow for them. Look, Bentancur and Kulusevski coming in last January was the difference in them getting the Champions League football and finishing above Arsenal. Those two were superb, and they don't have another player like Bentancur. Really, you can give them that some semblance of control in midfield, and they don't really have anyone who has the variety of passing, just the range of ability that Bentancur has. But look, top 4 wise, although this sounds silly to say it, I suppose after they've shut out Manchester City, but they just don't have a defence that's good enough. They do not defend well enough to get in the top 4 at the moment, and it's quite surprising of an Antonio Conte side. But I don't have the numbers in front of me because I'm at Arsenal, not at Tottenham, but there is a stat about when Antonio Conte has a clear week to work with his players, how much better they are, how much better drilled they are, how everyone seems to know their roles, and they produce a much more sort of clear, defined performance. And this, I guess, is an example. Obviously, Conte's had the gallbladder operation that he's recovering from. It smacks again of this inconsistency of just sitting of Spurs not being able to produce a consistent defensive performance, which is the foundation for everything else. I think Tanganga played today. He's obviously come in partly because Romero's injured, but I think Davinson Sanchez was on the bench. You'd think Sanchez would be playing. So that's a bit of a strange call. Hugo Lloris has been questioned a lot in recent weeks, but Fraser Forster's hardly played any football, certainly any Premier League football, for a long time. And now they're even thinking about trying to bring Ben Foster out of retirement to sign him as a backup. So they've clearly got an issue in the goalkeeping position. At centre-back, I think even when everyone's fit, Eric Dyer was fantastic against Manchester City, but there are question marks about him longer term in terms of his form. Clement Longley, is he actually good enough for the Premier League, for a top 4 Premier League side? There have to be debates about that. Obviously, the right wing-back situation has been a complete mess all season. They signed Jed Spence. They didn't play him. They were going to loan Matt Doherty out. They ended up ripping his contract. They brought Pedro Porro in today. Difficult for him to come and make his debut in a game like that. So there are a lot of questions defensively to answer for Spurs. And look, we all know going forward with Kane, Son, Kulusevski, Richarlison when he's back, they've got some tremendous attacking players, but they just do not defend well enough, consistently enough to put any sort of serious stock in thinking as it stands they're going to finish in the top 4.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.